Okay, here we have three questions concerning the chapter Classical Macroeconomics and Self-Regulating Economy. Of course, the first question, says that if wage rates are not flexible, can the economy be self-regulating? Explain your answer. Of course, I put an answer over here. Of course, if the wage rates and other resource prices are not flexible, of course, the economy can't be self-regulating. Remember the concept of a self-regulating economy is very classical, which implies that the economy, the wage rates and other resource prices, of course, rise and fall in responses to shortages and surpluses in the economy. So, according to the classical economists, the economy, of course, the norm of the economy is that, having or achieving a long-run equilibrium. So to achieve long-run equilibrium, it means that the economy has to be self-regulating, which means that according to the classical economists, or the ones who believe that the economy is self-regulating, that they believe that if the economy is ill in the form of a recessionary gap or an inflationary gap, then, of course, wage rates, of course, and other resource prices will, move on in the direction of long-run equilibrium, that is, achieving the full employment output or natural GDP. So, wage rates should be flexible in order for the self-regulating economy, to work. Otherwise, if wage rates and other resource prices are not flexible, then we can't say that the economy is self-regulating. The only way for the economy to be self-regulating is that, wage rate and other resource prices are flexible, so that when, for instance, we have a recessionary gap, that is, an economy producing a GDP, a real GDP that is lower than the national GDP, then in that case, we're going to have, a surplus in the labor market. That is, the economy is not in long-run equilibrium. So when we have a surplus in the labor market, it means that wage rates will fall. And when wage rates fall, it means the shorter supply will, shift to the right until long-run equilibrium is achieved. So, as I said here, having a flexible wage rate play a very, critical role in the self-regulating economy. Now, of course, the second question says, what does it mean to say that the economy is in a recessionary gap, in an inflationary gap, and in long-run equilibrium? Of course, here we can say over here to, of course, as you know that economists, of course, usually they refer to three possible states in the economy, okay, when considering the relationship between real GDP and the national GDP. So when real GDP, when real GDP is less than the natural real GDP, then the economy is in a recessionary gap. Okay, then the economy is in a recessionary gap. So graphically, of course, we could graph this one here. This is graphically Okay, this is what you get over here. As you can see graphically, Q1, as you see here, Q1 is less than real GDP or Q1. Okay, this is Q1 over here, and this is real GDP, and this is Qn, which is Qn is the national GDP. Okay, in this case, Q1 less than Qn, which implies we have a recession again. Now, of course, when real GDP is greater than natural real GDP, then of course the economy is in an inflationary gap. Graphically, real GDP, price level, aggregate demand, short-run aggregate supply, of course, and then you have here long-run aggregate supply. This is Qn, this is long-run aggregate supply, and this is over here Q1, where Q1 is greater than Qn, where Qn is of course the natural GDP. Okay, a long-run equilibrium, of course, the economy is in long-run equilibrium when Q1 is equal Qn. Okay, graphically, we're going to have like this. Real GDP, this is price here, Q1 equal Qn. This is long-run aggregate supply. Okay, as you can see, this is what you get here, Q1 equal Qn. Okay, now we move to the third, of course, question, which is explain why, of course, explain why saving rises as the interest rate rises. Let me erase over here and solve that question. Okay, now we move to explain question number 3. It says, explain why saving rises as the interest rate rises. Of course, This is because there is a positive relationship or a direct relationship between saving and the interest rate. So the higher the interest rate is, the higher the reward is for saving. This implies the higher the opportunity cost of consuming. So the higher the opportunity cost of consuming means, of course, fewer funds consumed and more funds saved. This is simplest. The answer is, okay? So here we could say that, of course, this is because there is a positive relation between the interest rate and saving. So the higher the interest rate is, the higher the reward is for saving. And the higher the interest rate means the higher the opportunity cost of consumption, and the higher the interest rate means the higher the opportunity cost of consuming. This implies fewer funds consumed and more funds saved. Okay, continuing solving problems, of course, in the chapter of classical macroeconomics and self-regulating economy. Now we move to problem number 4. It says, in the following figure, which point is representative of the economy on its long-run aggregate supply, the economy in a recessionary gap, the economy in an inflationary gap? Remember, we have in the lecture, we did discuss, presenting a recessionary gap as well as inflationary and long-run equilibrium using, production possibilities frontier, namely institutional PDF and physical PDF. Okay, now here, of course, solving the problems. Let's see here. Okay. The first one, of course, which of course point is representative of the economy on its long run aggregate supply curve. Of course, the economy is in long run aggregate supply when it is along the institutional BBF. So we could say B. So here, of course, for A, no, B. Point B. Point B. Okay? The economy in a recessionary gap, of course, is going to be below the institutional BBF, which is point D. B, point D. The economy in an inflationary gap is going to be beyond the institutional BBF and below the physical BBF, so it's going to be point C. C, point C. Of course, we have already discussed this, when we did that in the lecture of this chapter. Now, we move to problem 5. Problem 5, of course, says in the following figure, which pairs A to C is representative of course, the economy operating in the natural unemployment rate. Which, of course, which one of these, A, B, and C, the economy operating in the natural, of course, unemployment rate? Of course, we say here A, of course, is going to be C, because this is the figure that shows that the economy here is operating in the natural unemployment rate, of course, where Q1 is equal, of course, where Q1 is equal Qm, okay? And that basically means we are in long run equilibrium, of course, in long run equilibrium, and we operating in the natural unemployment rate. So here we can say C. B, surplus in the labor market. Of course, we have a surplus in the labor market, of course, when we have a recessionary gap. Which one of those figures, shows that we have a recessionary gap or a representative of a recessionary gap? Of course, this one here, A. So B, A. C, recessionary gap. Of course, still this figure represent an economy that is operating in a recessionary gap. So we can say A. C, A. Okay? Now, D says which figure of those represent a cyclical unemployment rate of 0. Remember the definition of a cyclical unemployment rate. Okay? Cyclical unemployment rate, C, cyclical unemployment rate, UC, is equal unemployment rate minus natural unemployment rate. Natural cyclical unemployment rate equal, of course, unemployment rate minus natural, okay, let's put here, natural unemployment rate. So if the cyclical unemployment rate is equal to 0, okay, this is equal 0, that's what it's saying here, which implies unemployment rate is equal natural unemployment rate. We have unemployment rate equal natural unemployment rate when we have what? When we have, this figure over here. When we have, of course, the economy operating at the natural unemployment rate. This is where this figure represents an economy that is operating at the natural unemployment rate. So we're going to say here C. So D is C. Okay, C. So D is figure C, which shows that we have a cyclical unemployment rate that is 0. Now we move to solve problem 6. So let me basically erase over here. Of course, 6 says that diagrammatically represent the following. An economy in which aggregate demand increases as it is self-regulating out of a recessionary gap. So first we have to draw a figure that represents an economy that is operating in a recessionary gap. This is the figure over here. Okay, Q over here, and this is the price over here. Of course, this is aggregate demand. This is short-run aggregate supply, of course, and this is here the long-run aggregate supply. This is Qn over here, and this is over here long-run aggregate supply. Of course, this is one over here, and this is over here Q1. So Q1 less than Qn. So this figure represents an economy that is operating in a recessionary gap. No, what he's saying, you should represent an economy in which aggregate demand increases and it is self-regulating out of recessionary gap. So here what we can do, we're going to draw an aggregate demand that is, increasing or shifting to the right. So that's what you get here. AD1 and AD2. Okay, this is an economy that is increases as self-regulating out of recessionary gap. That implies it moves out of recessionary gap to long-run equilibrium. Okay, to long moving, because the norm in a self-regulating economy is, of course, having or going or moving or or shifting to the long-run equilibrium. Okay, here. That is producing natural GDP. This is A. Of course, B is saying an economy in which aggregate demand decreases as it is self-regulating out of an inflationary gap. So our first step is to draw, a graph that shows an economy that is operating in an inflationary gap. So let's draw over here. Price. This is output. Of course, inflationary gap. Of course, that's what you can see here. Aggregate demand. Short-run aggregate supply. And this is long-run aggregate supply. As you can see, Q1 is greater than Qn. Okay, Q1 greater than Qn, which means that we are in a situation, of course, in an economy that is operating in an inflationary gap. So he's saying an economy in which aggregate demand decreases as it is self-regulating out of an inflationary gap. That means the economy, of course, is moving to long-run equilibrium by decreasing the aggregate demand curve. So let's here, of course, decrease this. That means aggregate demand shift to the left, as you can see over here. Okay, shift to the left. Okay, aggregate demand shift to the left over here, shift to the right, of course. And shift to the left, and basically when the aggregate demand decreases or shift to the right, shift to the left, it goes to long-run equilibrium. Okay, it goes to long-run equilibrium, and this is and these are the answers of these equations.